this tutorial, I will show you how to build an isometric bathroom like this. Please like before the tutorial start. Let's start with the default scene. Select the camera and go in camera menu to change type to orthographic. Then adjust the orthographic value and the scale of the cube to fit it in the camera. Delete these three faces and add a solidify modifier on the cube. Select the floor and press P to separate by selection. Move the floor down to not overlapping with the walls. Then add loop cuts like this to create the windows. Apply the modifier and select the top faces. Separate them by selection and extrude them. I also apply the scale when I do a modification. Select this face loop and extrude faces along normals. Then insert them and extrude faces along normals again. If the building getting bigger, adjust the camera. Select the floor and select this bottom face. And separate it by selection. Then extrude it. Again apply the scale to all objects. Add some loop cuts on the second floor to make 3 stairs. Apply scale again and add bevel modifier on the current objects. Adjust the bevel values to make them look like this. Select the floor and duplicate it. Scale it down and extrude it to do a tile. Place it in the corner of the room. Then add ray modifiers to fit all the room with tiles. Be sure the building is fitting in your camera always. Select the face loop inside the window gap and duplicate it. Then extrude faces along normals and scale them to make the window frame. Insert the inside faces and extrude them. Make this 2 times to get this shape. Then select the top face of the frame and duplicate it. Like the scale applying. Be sure you always set the origin to geometry to the objects. Extrude the face and duplicate it, and scale it to get this shape. Duplicate this object and move it down under the window. Select this edge loop and duplicate it, and separate by selection. Then fill it to get a face. Insert it and extrude the exterior faces. Apply the same method to the other window. Add a new plane and scale it down, then rotate it 90 degrees. Make it thinner and fit it from floor to the top of the room. Apply the scale and set origin to geometry. Then extrude it a bit. Add a bevel modifier and an ray modifier. Fit it between the windows. Add a plane on the floor and scale it like a bathtub. Then move it up. Extrude it down and scale the bottom face like this. Then delete the top face and add solidify modifier. Add loop cuts to adjust the shape. And move the loops and the vertices to get a bathtub shape. Add Solidify modifier. Add a plane and scale it like this. Then apply scale and set origin to geometry. Extrude it and duplicate it. Add bevel modifier to get more details. Duplicate one of them and rotate it 90 degrees and place it above. Add a modifier on the top piece. To duplicate it like this. Select this little face and duplicate it to make a base for the wooden support. Rotate it and extrude it like this. Set origin to geometry to all objects. And add a mirror modifier on the base on X and Y axes. Add bevels modifiers and place the object naturally. Add a circle with 20 for vertices, move it up and scale it down. Use knife tool to make 3 edges like this. Select them and bevel, then delete the new faces. Select all and extrude. Apply the scale and bevel it. Add a plane on the object and extrude it to the floor. Move the bottom face like to exterior of the chair. Then duplicate it to make the chair. Apply the scale, set origin to geometry and bevel. Add a new plane and scale it to create the cabin. Move it up and extrude it a bit. Duplicate the bottom face and separate by selection. Extrude it and repeat the process. Then take each object and isolate it to fill the face's gaps. Apply scale for each object and scale them like this. Add edge loops to make the doors. Select the front faces and insert them. Then extrude them and repeat this process to get a classy style. Add another edge loop here to make another 2 doors. Select some face loops and bevel them after you applied the scale. Then bevel some edge loops. Isolate the object again and fill the gaps. Add bevel on each object. Duplicate a face from the wall and separate by selection. Extrude it and duplicate it for the other wall. Add edge loops and delete faces for the windows. Duplicate this object and move it up above the cabin. Add edge loops and delete the middle faces. Then extrude it to create an outer to cabins. Add edge loops and bridge the two cabins. Create classy doors like before by inserting faces and extruding. Select those three faces, insert them and subdivide. Then turn them into circles and extrude them up. Insert a circle under the upper cabinets. Rotate it 90 degrees and scale it down to fit into the free space. Fill it and extrude it to make the mirror. Then add a bevel and insert the front face and extrude it inside. Add a new plane and scale it down to make the toilet. Extrude it up and use edge loops and move them to hit the shape. Add another plane and place it behind the toilet to make the water storage. Add a subdivision modifier and some edge loops to make it look realistic. Insert this face and scale it down to make the button. Subdivide it and turn into circle, then extrude it down. Duplicate it and extrude the now object. Adjust the scale of the objects to look real. Duplicate this edge loop and fill it, then place it above the toilet. Add a cylinder with 24 vertices and scale it down here. Duplicate it and scale up one of the cylinders. Then select the bigger cylinder and remove the bottom faces. For the little cylinder, insert the side faces more times and make the toilet paper like this. Add additional edge loops and insert face loops like this. Add subdivision modifiers on objects and then add edge loops. Add a circle on the table and extrude it, then scale down the bottom face. Remove the top face and add bevel and solidify modifiers. Shade it smooth and add subdivision. Then, add a circle behind the sink. Extrude it up and enter the side view. Use Ctrl-Tab to extrude it much easier. Add subdivision modifier and shade it smooth. Add some edge loops to adjust the shape. Duplicate this edge loops and place it near the last object. Extrude it and scale those faces. Then add subdivision modifier and adjust the shape with edge loops. Set origin to geometry to all objects, and add a more modifier on this object. Add a single vert on the wall and extrude it like a C shape. Then convert it into curve and increase the depth in the curve menu. Add a modifier to make some pipes. Convert them into mesh and add collision into the physics menu. Then add a plane above it and subdivide it. Add cloth modifier and press spacebar to play the animation. Add subdivision modifier and apply the cloth filter. Add solidify and move it down on the pipe. Duplicate it and move it down. Select those front faces and press Ctrl++ tab to increase the selection and separate it by selection. Now you can rotate this object to open the door. Do the same to open the door also at this cabinet. Add edge loops to make the gap inside this object. Enter the Edit Preferences menu to Add-ons and activate the Curve Extra Mesh add-on. Now you can add this logarithmic curve. In this menu you can adjust the values to get a spiral shape, as you can see. Then click right-click and convert to curve. In Curve menu, increase the extrude value. Also increase the depth value to get thickness. Rotate the towel 90 degrees and place it into the cabinet. Duplicate it more times to make more towels. Add a circle on the table and extrude it. Scale faces and extrude again to get this bottle shape. Then select this faces and extrude them in exterior. Rotate them to get a soap bottle shape. Take your time to work to details. You can bevel faces, edges and add subdivision modifier and more edge loops. Select the top part in X-ray mode and separate it by selection. Then duplicate it 2 or 3 times and place bottles on the table. Set the cursor on the cabinet door and add a circle. Extrude and scale it like this to get a handle shape like this. Duplicate the handle on all doors. Duplicate a soap bottle on this little table. Then, add a circle near the bottle, fill it and extrude it up. Then extrude it again and scale the top face, then delete it. Add a subdivision modifier and shade smooth. Add a cube on it and scale it down to create a soap. Add subdivision modifier and an edge loop. Shade smooth. Insert the top faces and extrude them inside. Scale both objects to get a nice proportional dimension. Then duplicate them near the sink. Add a circle. Extrude it and scale the face, then extrude again and scale down the face. Then delete the top face. Shade it smooth and add solidify modifier. Add a single vert on the object and extrude it to get a handle shape. After that, convert it into a curve and increase the depth. Using proportional edit, scale down the last vertex. Set cursor inside the vase and add a single vert. Then extrude it to get a plant shape down on the floor. Convert it into curve and increase the depth. Then scale down the last retouches. Shade it smooth and duplicate it 2 more times. Then move some retouches to get some variety. Always set origin to geometry to your objects. Duplicate the little table and scale it down on Z-axis. Then place it near the plant. And place the plant on the table. I always parent the objects to be more easy to move them. Add a single vert here and extrude it up like this. Convert it into curve and increase the depth. Then add a plane on the last vertex and scale it down. And extrude it down. Add a circle here and fill it, and insert the face to delete it. Then extrude the other faces and add subdivision modifier. Add another single vert on the floor and extrude it up like this. Through the circle. Convert into curve and increase the depth. Add a circle on last vertex and extrude and scale it like this. Add a plane on the wall here, then rotate it 90 degrees. And scale it down. Then extrude it and insert the front face. And extrude it and then spirit it by the selection. Then duplicate it 2 more times on the wall. Select the plant vase and duplicate it 2 times on the shelf here. Add another single vert on the floor and extrude it on the wall. To get a gas pipe, convert into curve and increase the depth. Add a circle and extrude it to and place it along the pipe. Repeat the same process here to create another pipe. Add a plane and extrude it up to create a box. Add a new plane and scale it down. Then, add 2 loop cuts on each side. Scale down the edges and add another loop cut on the middle. Scale it down and add subdivision modifier. And solidify. Select a plant piece and go to Particles menu. Click on the plus and go to Render and change from Halo to Object. And pick the leaf as object. Then increase the number and the scale object value. Also modify the randomness scale value. Copy modifier on the other pieces, and play with all the values until it looks good for you. Be sure you convert to mesh all the pieces before add particles. Duplicate the shelf on the other window. And duplicate another plant on the new shelf. Add a new plane in front of the window, and scale it to get the window size. Then add loop cuts on it and bevel them, then delete the new faces. And select all faces and extrude them. Select all faces and apply the scale, then enter the edit mode. Select all faces and press Shift+N to recalculate normals. Create another pipe here on the ground. Add a new plane under the building, and scale it up for the background. Then enter the render menu and modify the values like me, to get a good and fast render. Delete the light and add a sunlight, then rotate it. Add a blue material for the background, and decrease the roughness to minimum. Be sure you duplicate all the materials. Do not apply the material on all of them. For the glass, decrease the alpha value and increase the transmission value. I have tutorials for lighting and adding material on my channel. Go and check them. I also have procedural materials like wood, stone and metal tutorials in the back of the windows at planes, and add emission material on them to create light. Create another area light and place it up. Then scale it to the room dimensions. Under the cabinet, add spotlights and fit them into the gaps. Add a full transmission material for the mirror. Now go in Shader Editor and add basic and procedural materials on all the objects. Be sure you activate the Node Wrangler add-on in the preferences, and follow me for getting those procedural materials. Or go to my channel and search for the integral tutorials. I really hope this tutorial was useful for you. Leave a comment if you need help with some stuff in your creation. Also leave a like and a subscribe. Thanks.